Nagasaki and Hiroshima. These people can go across the Pacific and have reconciliation and talk about dignity and security today, but we can't do it domestically.
So if you were there in Baltimore right now, what would you be saying to people?
To the community there.
To everybody. Yeah.
What I would be saying is that we need to talk about the denial of what has been going on in this country. If you don't talk about the denial, then that cancer is going to continue to grow. Now, these people don't own anything. If they had ownership and shareholders were shareholders in CVS, then they wouldn't burn it down.
They wouldn't burn it down.
If they had ownership in the places that they were leasing or renting, they wouldn't burn it down.
You saw the mother beating up her kid there because she saw him on TV throwing the rock.
What do you think about that?
What was your reaction?
I just kept thinking of the boys in Gaza Strip, in Palestine, in Israel. And you don't see the mothers coming out beating up their sons for expressing themselves. Now, was it the right to assemble? We have that in the constitutional right. Riots are just the language of the unheard. And I appreciate the mother wanting to protect her son, but we have to look at that. When I was in the military, if war had gone on at 18 and 19 years old, my mother couldn't come to Iraq. Mothers can go to Iraq and protect their sons and stop them from fighting for what they believe in. So I have mixed emotions about that particular.
All right, one more thing, and we'll get back to. Although I don't want to get.
How are we going to get back to Blackbird? How can we?
I don't know.
Hashtag We Are Blackbird. When I look at what's happening in Baltimore, I look at what is happening with the dignity being taken from gay African American men, gay men, women. Period. If we continue to allow our dignity, then to be challenged and to be ignored, then we will have no security.
But question. People want people to get their full dignity. I mean, most of us we want that to work. Right. We may not understand, we may not culturally understand what people are going through, but you look at the scene and you say, what is constructive and what is destructive? Mm-hmm. And people watch this and it only seems destructive.
Counterproductive.
They only watch what no one is seeing, what's happening on Wall Street. No one is seeing what the banks are doing.
But they're not going to see it. Why? They're not going to see it.
Because that's the proverbial problem. We don't want to deal with this recession. Even the media doesn't want to deal with the 1%. This is just an end result of a much bigger problem.
Would you be throwing rocks if we were in high school there now?
Probably.
And would you feel justified, or would you later on say, what was I doing?
No. I was in the military, and I was trained to throw bullets. I was trained to throw bombs.
But not at your own people.
It's not a quick. These are not, those officers are doing their jobs, and they're doing it very well. Yeah. This is not a police issue. This is a larger issue. I would have really felt really proud if President Obama, metaphorically, would have talked about Baltimore before he addressed this wonderful Japanese.
I get your point. Reconciliation with an enemy. What about reconciliation with our friends?
That's right.
People.
That's right.
But it doesn't work that way, does it?
Why shouldn't it?
Well, it doesn't work that way.
Why we the people? Inalienable rights is in the Constitution.
Yeah, but it depends who's interpreting the Constitution. You have this situation here where...
It depends on who's interpreting the Constitution.
It's always a debate.
I raised my hand to fight to defend the Constitution of the United States of America. It's for all the people.
No,
right? Or is it some of the people?
What I'm saying is if you're interpreting the Constitution, freedom of expression stops when you throw a rock, doesn't it?
No, of course. That's breaking the law. Yeah. That's breaking the law. But you have the right to assemble. You have the right to assemble petitions. These are Bill of Rights. But now habeas corpus went out the window. No one said anything when President Bush was in office. So the people are wanting to be heard. Martin Luther King said clearly that riot is the language of the unheard. And if you want to continue to ignore it, even Gore Vidal said this is the United States of amnesia.
Yeah.
We have to go back and deal with the fact that we never got our 40 acres in a mule. And there's a host of things that have never happened. We can't sit back and look at it and say, oh, wow, look how destructive those people are.
But you also understand, most people in history didn't get 40 acres in a mule. Most people in history don't get that.
That is something that was promised.
Yeah, no, I understand. I understand.
It was really done.
I'm speaking metaphorically, and you're very comfortable with metaphors.
Yeah.
Most people in life don't get 40 acres in a mule.
But you have to start. You can't. That's just like someone. If you're not compliant, you come to me. I'm not a doctor, but I played one. But you come to me and you say you're suffering from symptoms of maybe cancer. Mm-hmm. I tell you, you have cancer. You say, I want a second or a third opinion. You get the same answer, that third opinion, you decide to go into denial, not compliant, you don't get to seek any treatment, any radiation care, you will die. That is what is happening here in the United States of amnesia. You are not dealing with the cancers that were created hundreds and hundreds of years ago. And until you deal with that, it is not just a knee-jerk reaction to put a bunch of people of color and go look at them, look how criminal
What's
they're
the
being.
first step? How do you even get started?
The first step is to admit what wasn't done, what the justice, the injustice from the beginning, after the Emancipation Proclamation. If you apologize on American soil, which the head of state, the president will never do, because that's admitting to human rights crimes.
Let's go to the next step.
That's the beginning of reconciliation.
Was reconciliation also part of reparations? Would they be part of it?
Yeah.
That's a mixed bag. I don't know enough about the reparations, but I know that that's something that's being brought up again. I think reparations will come in the form of free education for those who have built this country.
Are people watching you right now
That's
saying,
right.
"Oh, jeez"?
That's a problem.
Yeah,
They're saying, "Oh, Jesus."
That's 150 years ago.
No.
Live the future. Don't live the past. Don't condemn yourselves to repeating over and over again the negative experience.
No.
The people who did that were 12 generations ago.
That's unfortunate because 12 generations ago, if you're a part of a process and you're a part of a system that you're benefiting from all of that capital that was made during that time, then you're not going to have peace. It's not easy for you to take a position and go, "Oh God, that was a very long time ago," if you're benefiting from chattel slavery. Even today.
And by the way, we got to wrap it here. I do want to make one comment.
Steve, I can't believe we got
Wow.
it. But I'm glad we did. I love you for it. Hashtag We Are Blackbird. We're in the theaters right now.
That's for the movie. We'll talk about it. One of the great disappointments for me in my lifetime, because I've been around a while, is to think when I was a kid, if you told me that all these years in the future, race would be such a big issue and things would not have been resolved, if not totally satisfactory enough for everybody to get on.
You know why?
Why?
Coretta Scott King, according to Ambassador Young, told me that Coretta Scott King told Martin Luther King, if you did not take the civil rights movement across the Atlantic to Africa, 50 years from now, we will be exactly where we are and worse. If you do not develop the people that were taken from that land and brought here against their will and support them and strengthen them across the Atlantic, we're going to be right where we are today and worse.
All right,
She was right.
those are the words of Isaiah Washington.
Those are the words of Coretta Scott King.
Those are the words of you quoting Coretta
Recited
Scott
by
King.
Isaiah Washington.